Audio check 1, 2, 3. Right then, here we are everybody, take two, getting ready to go for the Hungarian Grand Prix here tonight at Motive. We've got a wet sprint race now on our hands to kick off tonight. Obviously we've got the main race, the Grand Prix, coming up a little while after this, but looks like we've got 15 drivers on the grid here, getting ready to take the start. A couple of people were running late, so it's a good thing that we ended up having to restart, because we can get a few of those guys in who wouldn't have otherwise been able to take the start. But here we are lining up on the grid. It doesn't look to be too wet, but it's certainly wet enough to cause these guys a few problems here tonight. We're going to get the tyre graphic up and see what tyres they're on. So it looks like most of the drivers are on intermediate tyres, which is to be expected really, because it's not too wet, it's just a little bit damp, maybe a bit of standing water in places. But here we are, the lights coming on the head of the grid. We're about to go racing here at Budapest for the Hungarian Grand Prix tonight. And it's lights out and away we go. And I think Mike, once again, got a better start than GGJ off of the line, and he's going to lead us into turn one. So similar story, but let's hope that everybody keeps it clean in the background as we come into turn one here. You see the Alpine there of Mr. Basil squeezing Andrew Pittsmith to the edge of the track. Sean's got ahead of Crazy Max up into 7th place. V10 Ultra and Jelram here has got up into 9th place from 15th on the grid. So what a start from Jelram here. He's absolutely flown through the pack here on the first lap, as you can see Mr. Basil there's being lined up for a move here by the Greek. They're side by side here coming through turn 3, sorry, and I think the Greek's going to get that one done here coming up towards turn 4. Yes, he has, so he's up into 4th place there, but it's Mike from GGJ from Andrew Pittsmith, the Greek Mr. Basil, Crazy Max in P6 ahead of that guy Sean, followed by Jelram. You got V10 Ultra who's just been passed there by Demsbecky, so Demsbecky's up in position up into 9th place, as Eggman's got ahead of V10 Ultra as well up into the final points paying, or rather not the points position, but P10 obviously, because there's no points for P10 in the sprint race. But HTB gets also got ahead of V10 Ultra. V10 Ultra's had a bit of a wiggle there coming through the chicane, loses out to Matty Pitt and Truckee, so those two up a position each, and V10 Ultra down to P14 in this race. But it's currently Mike leading by just over a second right now ahead of GGJ, so he's definitely showing that he's got the pace in these rainy conditions. As we saw earlier on this season at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix, Mike is a driver to be reckoned with in these sorts of conditions. He managed to make a worn set of wet tyres work all the way to the end of the race when everybody else switched to the intermediate tyres, and he managed to get them to the end, or rather no, it's the other way around, sorry. He managed to get a worn set of inters, which is even more impressive, managed to get a worn set of inters to get to the end when everybody else had switched to the wet. So he definitely knows what he's doing in these sorts of conditions, and right now he's leaving GGJ for dead here as they're coming into turn one to complete the first lap of the race. In the background here you can see Mr. Basil looking to the inside there of the grid, but just a little bit too far back coming into turn one. It's been quite a clean first lap from everybody here. No major incidents so far. Everybody's just kind of keeping it tidy, playing the long game here. Although it's only a 12-lap race, so you've really got to make it happen whilst you can here. And in these wet conditions, I reckon there's going to be a few little turn-ups. It'll be an opportunity for drivers who aren't usually at the sharp end to get themselves a very strong position for the start of the Grand Prix. But right now we're here on lap 2 of the race. It's Mike's leading just over a second ahead of GGJ. They've gapped Andrew Pittsmith by quite a bit. He's got the trainer cars here, the Green Mr. Basil and Crazy Max with Jelram on the back of him as well here. Let's ride on board with our 3-time champion of the F1 League here at Motive. He's making a reserve appearance this week. He made a reserve appearance last week as well, and he's been jumping in here and there. He drove at Miami. He obviously drove last week. So yeah, Jelram's been getting a few appearances in this season. This is his second in a row. Oh, a bit of a slide there onto the curb, and living very dangerously there is Jelram, but he's got a bit of a run here on Crazy Max. Crazy Max defending the inside. I think that Jelram's going to drive around him here, surely. He's going to keep the grip on the outside, has the traction, and Jelram gets the move done up into P6. Now he's going to look on the back of Mr. Basil as well, and let's see if Mr. Basil can hold behind the 3-time champion. He'll definitely have his hands full here as Jelram looking to the outside, coming into the final corner. Mr. Basil keeping himself there, but Jelram is going to drive around him like he's not even there, off of the racing line, making the most of the spray on the outside and managing to skid around the corner beautifully there. Jelram up into 5th place, and what a performance he's done so far. He's made light work at this pack here. He's gone from 15th up into 5th place. He's gained 10 places in the first 2 laps of the race. What an unbelievable inception to this Hungarian Grand Prix sprint race here from Jelram. As we can see in the background here, Demsbecky's bad at the moment, I think, because he's lost a few places. Yes, he has. He's down to the back here, so Demsbecky didn't see what happened there to him, but he has gone from, I think he was in 9th before, down to 14th place. So Demsbecky not having the night here so far in these rainy conditions, but clean start from everybody. Very clean first couple of laps for the most part. No incidents, no real sort of dirty driving or anything like that. Everybody's kept it very tidy so far. Joam's now eyeing up his next victim in the shape of the Grieve. Can Joam get onto the podium here in this sprint race? Can he get a win? I don't think he can get a win. I think that's a bit beyond. I think that's a bit beyond the Call of Duty, but potentially a podium in this sprint race, that would be an unbelievable job from him if he's able to get there, as he's now going to get the move on the Grieve. Like, he's not even there. That's not even a corner. In the dry conditions, that's not even a corner, and he's just made an overtake through there. So Joam there up into 4th place. And next up here will be the man in the final podium spot of Andrew Smith, but once he gets to Andrew Smith, there's 5 seconds up the road to the 2 leaders, Mike and GGJ. So I reckon 3rd place could be the summit of Joam's ambitions here in this sprint race. As we can see, Eggman and HT Baguette side by side here, coming through into the final corner. HT Baguette's going to have the inside, as you can see there. Sean gives her the space. Sorry, Eggman gives her the space, and she squeezes through up into 9th place. Now Sean's got to watch out. Eggman's going to watch out. Sorry, I keep thinking he's Sean for some reason. I don't know why. But Matty Pitt here on the back of Eggman, coming down the start-finish straight as Eggman defends the inside line. Matty's going to try and go around the outside here, but Eggman's just positioning his car in the perfect place there and nowhere through for him at the moment. So Eggman holding on ahead of Matty Pitt for the time being. Matty Pitt driving in his favourite constructor this week, Williams. I think he's a big Williams fan, as are a lot of us Brits, to be fair. But obviously Matty Pitt here didn't get a chance to qualify in the one-shot qualifying. Usually he is working on Fridays, and he's usually cutting it fine to get into the races, but tonight I had to miss what was going to be the sprint race, but obviously because we had to delay it, it means that he's going to be able to race in both the sprint and the Grand Prix tonight, which is excellent news. But yeah, he's currently trying to put the pressure here on Eggman as they're coming through the middle part of this lap at the moment. You've still got Mike out the front leading. GGJ's actually closed the gap to Mike a little bit here. The gap's now well under a second between these two, so GGJ is keeping Mike on his toes here out the front. Andrew Smith has now got Joam sizing him up here, and Joam has made short work of dispatching the drivers behind him. He got ahead of the Grieve and Mr. Basil and Crazy Max and all those guys. We were watching him as he did it, like he wasn't even breaking sweat making the move on them. As we're coming in towards the final corner now, can he get a run here coming out of the final corner and make the move down the start finish straight? You can see Andrew Pittsmith just wiggling around a little bit there, coming out onto the start finish straight, and Joam gets a lovely launch there, and he's got the ERS as well. He's got slightly more ERS than Andrew, but he's going to use it, pretty much all of it here, to make this move. Andrew trying to look to the outside here, but Joam's going to have that one done with relative ease there up into 3rd place. Now he's got 7 seconds up the road to Mike and GGJ. So I reckon that Joam, as I said earlier on, I think that this might now be the ceiling of where he can get to in this sprint race. But nonetheless, what a job. I mean, he's made the rest of his race relatively sort of stress-free by getting himself into 3rd so early on in the race. He's now got 7.5 seconds to make up on the leaders, but I don't think that's going to be possible, as we can see V10 Ultra into the pits, and he's retired the car. He's got no front wing, so maybe he's just thinking that there's not really much of an opportunity to gain any places here for the rest of this race, thinking that it's futile to continue on. But shame there to lose him so early on. We've got Levy Grieve in the comments there saying we all know Haas is going to take the W. Currently the Grieve here running in P5. Obviously that is Levy Grieve is his brother. As Mike's made a mistake, so GGJ's up into the lead. What has happened here? The Mike is now running in P2, so GGJ has obviously forced Mike into a mistake there, coming through the middle part of the lap, and GGJ is your new race leader here in this sprint race. So wow, bit of a turn up there as the Ferrari obviously taking a full step somewhere out there. And Mike now has got it all to do here. Obviously, Mike essentially the replacement for Dennis Becky, who's no longer a full-time driver in this league. And Mike currently has now got to really fight here in this one if he wants to win this sprint race. But in the meantime, whilst these two are battling and swapping places, Joam there with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:28.5. He gained about a second on these two, the two leaders on the last lap. And I'll tell you what, if they continue to battle like they are, then they could be caught by this man here. It's not out of the question for Joam to finish with a chance of maybe taking the win, but for sure it's going to take a hell of a job for him to be in with a shout. But he's really pushing it at the moment, so don't rule him out. That's all I can say. You can never write him off, being 6 seconds behind with 7 laps left to go. But right now Andrew's still running ahead of the Grieve. You've got Mr. Basil, Crazy Max and Sean as well. HG getting not too far for that battle as well, so really you've got about, I'd say, 6 cars running in a train here from 5th down to 10th places. Eggman's dropped it. Eggman's made a mistake there, and Demsbecky up into 11th, and Truckee moves through as well. So Eggman there dropping to 13th place here in this race, and that will be a frustrating moment there for him, as Crazy Max has also dropped it here. He's in the wall as well. He's managed to keep his front wing, but he's losing a load of places here, and I think Trucky's going to pick up a place on him as well. Oh, and Crazy Max there struggling with the traction to get it going again. He might lose out to Eggman here as well, so Crazy Max has gone from not a bad position at all to an absolutely horrendous position here. He is still ahead of Eggman though at the moment, but yeah, Crazy Max there with a huge mistake, as we can see. Demsbecky making a move here on Matty Pitt around the outside, coming into the penultimate corner. Can Matty Pitt try and come back at him here? He's got a little bit of his car alongside, but still side by side as we're coming into the final corner. Demsbecky with the inside line, not really where we want to be in that part of the track, but manages to get the move completed nonetheless, and is up into 9th place as Joram, fastest lap of the race again, continuing to take chunks out of the 2 leaders. We've got 6 laps left to go. He's about 5 seconds off of the lead, so he's continuing to gain at about a second a lap, and if he continues to gain at that rate, he will be on the top 2 by the time we get to the end of this race. He will be on them starting the final lap, so Joram's trajectory at the moment is definitely looking promising. But it all depends on what GGJ and Mike do, because if they start tripping over each other, it will definitely bring him into play. If they don't, they'll probably be okay to hold on for 1st and 2nd places, which they're currently occupying at the moment. You've got Mr. Basil here, who's on the back of the Grieve as they're coming through the towards the chicane, but Mr. Basil's not really putting the Grieve under any sort of real pressure at this point. HD Baguette still keeping Sean on his toes at the moment. These two running in 7th and 8th places. They're a couple of seconds ahead of Demsbecky, who is reeling them in, having a little bit there in 9th place. Now he's in clean air ahead of Matty Pitt. Matty Pitt's not falling a million miles off the back of Demsbecky though. He's still keeping him honest here in this battle for P9 and 10. You've got Crazy Max here, who's just about under a second here ahead of Trucky, and he's about a second or so ahead of Eggman at this point. But GGJ and Mike here coming out of the last corner, completing lap 7 of the race. On to lap 8. We've got 5 laps left to go here at the Hungary ring for round 12. Obviously the sprint race, not the only race of tonight. We've got the feature, or rather the Grand Prix coming up after this. Keep calling it the feature because on Project Cars 2, where we run Clio Cup and touring cars here at Motive, it's the sprint and feature, but obviously, or rather it's not anymore actually, but it used to be. So yeah, I keep thinking it's the feature. Obviously the Grand Prix, it's not the feature, it's the Grand Prix. It's the creme de la creme. But GGJ and Mike's here coming up towards turn 4. These two are still battling it out over the lead. Joram continuing to reel these guys in. The gap under 4 seconds here to our man currently occupying the final podium spot. Driving in the Alfa Romeo tonight. Oh, massive slide there. And somehow he didn't lose any time. Wow, I'm not quite sure how he managed to do that. But he seemed to get a huge bit of oversteer, which he corrected in a fraction of a second. And it's as if it never even happened. So bizarre there. But anyway, Mr. Basil here on the back of the Grieve as they're coming to the chicane. You can see HD Baguette now closer and closer to the back of Sean than she was, and Sean's really going to be feeling the pressure at this point as these two are coming through. They're not too far off the back of the Grieve and Mr. Basil as well, so this could, as I said earlier on, become a maybe even a 5-way battle for P5, with Demsbecky also reeling these guys in as well here. So this could become an interesting and tasty fight here in this mid-pack. The Grieve currently leading this train right now, getting support from his brother in the chat. Levy Grieve, as I said before, is the Grieve's brother. These two racing the Haas. Rarely actually see them both turn up. Usually one of them is not here. It's very rare that you see both of them out on the track, but good to see that he's voicing his support for his brother nonetheless in the YouTube chat. And yeah, hopefully you're enjoying what you're seeing right now. Little Grievy in the comments, but GGJ and Mike still battling it out over the lead. You can see these guys 4/10 apart. Joram actually didn't gain any time on them on the last lap. So are these two starting to get their act together, or did Joram make a mistake? I'm not quite sure, but it looks like they're maybe just playing ball with each other at this point, maybe saying, go on, you know, it's best for both of us if we don't put each other under too much pressure here, because at the moment Joram was closing in on us. If we just focus on ourselves and just try and pull the gap, then we can have a battle at the end, can't we? Do you know what I mean? But who knows if they're organising things to that level, or potentially they're probably just going hammer and tongs trying to stay in front of each other, or rather GGJ trying to stay ahead of Mike trying to put the pressure on him. But they're 4 seconds ahead of Jelmo right now, who's running in 3rd place. He's well clear of Andrew, who's pulled a couple of seconds here to this battle for P5, which is still going on between the Grieve, Mr. Basil. Although Sean has dropped off of them a little bit, HD Baguette still closer and closer to the back of Sean, but she just can't find a way around. And it's been the situation so many times at Hungary over the years. A very difficult track to overtake. The wet would probably make it a little bit easier, I would imagine. Not down to the fact that it would make overtaking easier, but down to the fact that you're more likely to make a mistake in the wet. So that could definitely play a factor. But at the moment, HTB can't find a way through ahead of Sean. Demspecki has now arrived on the scene, so this is definitely turned into a 5-way battle for 5th place, which the Grieve is still continuing to lead at the moment, but it's a bit of a trolley train forming behind the Haas here, and he'll be very, very aware of that, as you can see everybody else just continuing up behind him here. But we come over the line to start lap 10, 3 laps left to go here in the sprint race here at Hungary. There's the Grieve, Mr. Basil, there's Sean, HTB and Demspecki. They've got a couple of seconds now back to Matty Pitt, who doesn't seem to be able to close in on these guys at the moment, and Sean has got ahead of Mr. Basil. Mr. Basil here, what's happened to Mr. Basil? He's dropped places to HTB and Demspecki as well, so Sean up into P6. The Grieve here now a second clear of Sean. Was there contact between Sean and Mr. Basil there, which caused Mr. Basil to lose those places, as in the meantime Eggman's got ahead of Truckee here on the exit of turn 1. Crazy Max looking to try and get ahead of Truckee but can't do it. But what happened to Mr. Basil there? I'm not sure what happened to him that caused him to lose those places. But that's given the Grieve a little bit of respite here in P5. He's now got over a second back to Sean, who's still got heavy pressure here from HTB at this point. Demspecki and Mr. Basil's still right there on the back of this battle right now. But it's kind of just given the Grieve a bit of a reprieve here. Didn't even mean to do that. That was just a terrible rhyme that was completely accidental. Or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was subconscious. But it definitely came out a little bit unintentional. But here we still got the Grieve here, who's actually, they've closed in on him a little bit coming through the middle sector here, so just under a second here between the Grieve and Sean. HTB just hasn't been able to find a way through ahead of Sean, and now the thing is, because HTB got the pressure from behind from Demspecki, she's not able to put Sean under as much pressure, which is kind of helping the situation here for Demspecki. And obviously no DRS, and this is the kind of situation where not having DRS I think actually helps the racing, because when you've got a train of cars with DRS, it makes it impossible for anybody to make a move. As we can see here, Demspecki making a move down the inside of HTB getting into turn 1. Is that going to be job done, or is HTB going to come back at him? No, she can't. So Demspecki then moves himself through up into P7 there. Now can try and focus on Sean. Can Demspecki get himself into the top 5 maybe, with 2 laps left to go here in this race, as Rednass has joined. So good to see Rednass will be able to join us for the Grand Prix, which is coming up after this. But GGJ still out in front, leading the race ahead of Mike. They're now 11 seconds clear of Jelma, so I think Jelma must have dropped it somewhere, because he is falling back into the clutches of Andrew. And let's have a look at Jelma's car, see if his front wing's still intact. It is intact, it's looking okay. It's not, I don't know, has he got damage maybe, because it doesn't look great. It doesn't look like it's in pristine condition, let's say that. But he's pulling away a little bit from Andrew at this point, but not by the sort of amount that I would expect a driver of Jelma's calibre to do so. But yeah, at this point he is a long way off of the leaders. He is actually closing on the leaders, so I think he doesn't have damage, but he's clearly had a moment of some sort which has dropped him well off of the leaders here. But we're starting the final lap of the race, and GGJ has just extended the gap to over a second here to Mike, so he's looking a little bit more comfortable here in this race lead. The Grieve has still got Sean pretty close on him, but Demspecki here is hassling the back of Sean as we're coming out the final corner, and he'll get a great run here out to the start finish straight. I think that Demspecki's going to take P6 here. As you can see, he's getting the closing speed there, and Sean leaves the door open. Demspecki's going to go down the inside here into turn 1. I think this is going to be job done here for the Alfa Romeo. Here he goes. Demspecki moves himself through up into P6 on board with Sean there. You can see the Alfa Romeo pulling away there out of the acceleration zone. So now Demspecki has got to focus on trying to get onto the back of the Grieve here. He's a second behind him here on this final lap of the race. In the meantime, Mike has picked up a 3-second time penalty. So has Andrew, so is Eggman and Crazy Max. But that will definitely have put a nail in Mike's chances of taking a win off of GGJ. Even if he were to get ahead of him now, he would not be able to take the race win. But we've got to stay with this battle here, because Demspecki is currently closing in on the Grieve, but I think he might just be running out of laps here, as we are on the final lap of the race, coming into the chicane for the final time. There's not really any obvious overtaking points here, so it would need to be a mistake from the Grieve for Demspecki to be able to nab this 5th place. These guys have got Sean and HTB on the back of them, but HTB has been on the back of Sean for pretty much this entire race and hasn't been able to find a way through. We're on board with Demspecki as the Grieve gets a little bit wide there, and Demspecki's going to look down the inside. Surely this is going to be job done here for Demspecki. He sends it down the inside, and he's going to get the move done there. So Demspecki up into 5th place as GGJ has taken the win for the sprint race. Mike there in 2nd place, 8/10 separated them over the line, but Mike's penalty dropped him back on the classification board as Jelram there bins it over the line to take 3rd place. Andrew comes over in 4th, with Demspecki taking P5 on the final lap there. A great drive from him. after being way down the elder at the start. Demsbecky, a great drive there for him. The Grieve over in 6th, ahead of HTB at 7th, followed by the Sean in 8th. And you've got Mr. Basil, who comes over in 9th, ahead of Matty Pitt, completing the top 10. Eggman and Crazy Max are going to batter it out to the flag by the looks of it, as they're coming into the final corner. And Crazy Max just out-braking Eggman there in the entry to the final corner. But Eggman getting a better run and holding on for 11th place there. So Eggman P11, Crazy Max 12th. And Trucky's coming through the final couple of corners now into the final corner. He goes. So Trucky is going to take 13th place here in this race. So not the race that he would have been hoping for, but that is that then, ladies and gentlemen, for the sprint race. And guys, stick with us because we'll be back very, very shortly for the Grand Prix itself. The grid order will obviously be based on the results from this sprint race. And yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one. So if you're currently watching on the stream, guys, if you are enjoying what you're watching, please smash the like button and let us know who you think is going to take the win in the Grand Prix. But GGJ and Mike having a great battle, and if that's anything to go by, I reckon we're going to be in for a treat here tonight. Joe, I'm on the podium, completing the podium, and yeah, let's go, guys. Let's get this Hungarian Grand Prix underway. Hey everyone guys, welcome back to the Motive channel. We are here for the Grand Prix itself here at Hungary. Finally, we're getting this underway after a bit of a stop and start kind of evening. We're finally moments away from, well, about half a lap away. As I've just seen, I think a Haas lose it there coming out of turn 3 on the formation lap and bidding it into the barriers. So that's definitely not what we want to be seeing here. But anyway, I'm just going to try and forget what I just saw there. So GGJ will be leading us. It looks like it's going to be a dry Grand Prix, at least for the start anyway. So obviously we had a wet sprint race a few moments ago. The intermediate tyres were the tyre of choice for the duration. So we didn't have any real heavy rain showers, but the lingering rain and drizzle, or rather light rain I'd say, was certainly enough to keep the drivers on their toes. But I guess for this the Grand Prix, it should be a dry race. We're expecting dry weather, I think, for the whole thing. Medium and hard is going to be, I think, the preferred strategy, but we are seeing Sean starting on the soft tyres, the only driver to start on the soft. Top two, GGJ and Mike, are on the mediums, so I'll be expecting them to break away from Jelma in the first part of the race, but whether or not Jelma will be able to get them on a strategy in the second part, we'll have to see. I'll tell you what, if Jelma can get ahead of these guys and lead the first stint, he's basically got the win guaranteed, as he just loses it there coming into his grid spot. So bit of a Fernando Alonso there, Jelma, you need to sort that out. But as here we go, so we're lining up on the grid, getting ready to go for the Hungarian Grand Prix here at Motive. The lights coming on now at the head of the grid. We're moments away from the start of the Hungarian Grand Prix for Season 5 here on the F1 game. And it's lights out and away we go, and for some reason Jelma's pulled off to the side, so is he, I don't know what's going on here. What is going on? What's he doing? He's starting from the back. Okay then. So GJ leads into turn 1. Mike though looking down the inside. And he's going to get the move done here. So Mike there up into P1. And GGJ a bit wide there onto the curb. So Mike there once again, as he's done 3 times here now. He's got ahead of GGJ at the start. Although this time GGJ didn't get a bad start, but Mike managed to outbrake him into turn 1. Andrew there squeezing through ahead of Demsbecky up into 3rd place. You got Sean there ahead of the grid, followed by Mr. Basil. HTB get there in 8th ahead of Crazy Max, followed by Matty Pitt. V10 Ultra is into the wall there coming out of turn 3, so he's had a horror show of an opening lap. Felix hasn't had a great start either, to be fair. So V10 Ultra down to well back behind everybody else right now. In the meantime, the 2 leaders are dueling it out there coming into the chicane. But a clean start other than what we've seen there with V10 Ultra and Felix, and obviously Jelma dropping to the back of the pack. He's already on the rear end of Rednas, so it's going to be a fascinating watch to see what Jelma can do over the course of this Grand Prix. He's doing it the hard way. He pulled off to the side at the start. Didn't want to be boring. He wants to put on a show here tonight, and he's definitely doing that as he's looking to the inside here on Rednas. Is he going to make the move down the inside? Surely, yes he is. So P13 done there for Joam. But many more positions to be gained here over the course of this race, and how quickly are Mike and GGJ going to be able to pull out the gap? I reckon that he might be fighting for a podium place here tonight with the pace that these two out the front have got. But Demsbecky here has managed to get ahead of Andrew Pittsmith coming down to start finish open. Andrew's going to look back to the inside into turn 1, and he's going to send one down the inside there as Demsbecky goes in the space. He's going to be pushed out wide a little bit there as Demsbecky, but he manages to keep the momentum there around the outside, and we'll have the inside held on to for turn 2 as Truckee here has dropped it somewhere, and he's off onto to the grass there. So I don't know if that's Truckee, but he's had a bit of an incident there as Rednas has also got a crazy max up into P12 as well. So a few little thrills and spills going on so far in this race. Sean trying to close up onto the back of Andrew right now. You've got HD Baguette here who's trying to put the pressure here on Mr. Basil for 7th place. Matty Pitt there on the back of these guys as well. So lots of battle going on in the mid pack at this point in the early stages here of the Hungarian Grand Prix. But Mike and GJ still battling out the front, 0.3 of a second separating these two, and look at this, there's absolutely nothing at all between these two right now. These two have been going at it for the last few rounds, and in the wet conditions they're so close, in the dry conditions they're nip and tuck. There's nothing at all separating these two in terms of skill level. Mike is good at the start. I'll tell you what, Mike seems to be strong on cold tyres. GGJ seems to be able to come at him after he's got the tyres up to temperature, and generally seems to have the upper hand. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this Hungarian Grand Prix develops. It's a track that's very hard to overtake, so GGJ is going to need to have a serious time delta over Mike if he's able to get this move done. But no DRS just yet. He's having to do this one the hard way with Grunt. Looking to the outside here is GGJ, but Mike covers that inside line off for the time being. They've both used the exact same amount of ERS battery. That just goes to show how even they are right now. Nothing to separate, nothing to choose from between these two as they're coming through turn 2 here on lap 3. But GGJ, obviously the championship leader, has got a lot more to lose. He needs to make sure that he's putting consistent points on the board. Whereas Mike obviously joined the championship only a couple of rounds ago at Silverstone, so he's not got really much to lose. He can just sort of go all out and really push for the victories here and push for the race wins, because that's really all he's racing for, his pride at this point. But HT Baguette here is looking on the back of Mr. Basil here to the inside into the chicane. She's going to try and send one here. Mr. Basil sees her coming, gives her the space, and she squeezes around the outside for the second part of the chicane and up into P7 there. So nice move there from HT Baguette as Joram has got ahead of Matty Pitt here up into 9th. Oh, bit of a slide, bit of a twitch there from Joram, and Matty Pitt moves back through again. Crazy Max has got ahead of Eggman, so is Rednass, and Eggman's made a mistake. That's why. So Eggman is round and really struggling here in the first part of the race, and he's binned it again. So Eggman here having an absolute nightmare in the early stages of this Grand Prix. GGJ still on the back of Mike, and we'll have DRS this time around coming out of the final corner. So can he make it? Can he use that to his advantage and get a little bit closer here, coming down towards turn 1? As here we come over the line to complete lap 3 of the race. Demsbecky, fastest lap of the race there, running in P3. He's closing in on the top 2 battling as well, and on the hard tyres as well. So that could be very advantageous here for Demsbecky. These two on the mediums need to watch out, because if Demsbecky is close to them on the hards, then he will have the upper hand in the second stint of this race, where he'll be able to put the mediums on and have a much faster car, much faster setup overall than these two ahead of him. Whereas Joram are up to at the moment. He's worked his way up into P10 so far from the back of the pack. So obviously starting on the hard tyres, no mean feat there. As the Grieve has dropped it out of turn 3, that moves Joram up another position up into 9th. And the Grieve here is just spinning it back around again. He's lost out now to Rednass and Crazy Max. So those two up positions each. And V10 Ultra coming up on the scene will get ahead of the Grieve up into 12th place. So the Grieve there losing a load of places, down to 13th place here in this race so far. Back to the lead, as you can see, there's still 0.3 of a second separating them. No change there between those two. Matty Pitt on the back of Mr. Basil here, as these two are battling it out in the mid-pack right now. But Mr. Basil, for the time being, seems to have the measure. HTB gets pulled away from Mr. Basil by nearly 2 seconds since getting ahead of him. So that just goes to show HTB gets got some serious pace here. Has she got the pace to go after the leaders? Has she got the pace for a podium here tonight? We've seen her get a few podiums over the seasons here at Motive. As we can see, Matty Pitt going around the outside of Mr. Basil, and looks like Joram's going to get ahead of him as well here. So Joram following him through, and Joram now can try and focus on Matty Pitt as we're coming out of the last corner over the start finish line here to complete lap 4 of the race. Matty Pitt is surely going to be looking at his mirrors in a moment, because Joram's getting ever closer, but he's just a little bit too far back coming into turn 1. He's going to go late on the brakes though, almost tapping Matty in the rear there. Manages to keep ahead of Mr. Basil though, but John, they're living dangerously, and GGJ's in the lead. What's happening? Oh, Mike's lost it. Mike's dropped it there coming into turn 3. He must have binned it on the exit of turn 2. He's lost out to Demsbecky now and Andrew, but Demsbecky's right on the back of GGJ here. So I wonder if GGJ maybe had an incident there with Mike, but Demsbecky is now really hassling GGJ, and this is a bit of deja vu, isn't it? We saw in the early stage of this season when Demsbecky was a permanent driver at Ferrari. We saw these two going toe-to-toe many times. They've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with these two. They're friends, but they're also fierce rivals, and every now and then they have little fallouts where they don't talk to each other for a few weeks. But right now they're currently running in 1 and 2, so this could potentially reignite some of the feuds that we've been seeing between these two in recent times. Mike on the back of Sean. Sean's actually got ahead of him up into 4th place, so Sean's done well there. Joram is up into 7th place ahead of Matty Pitt right now, so he's gained another position here as Joram, and continuing to cut his way through towards the front of the pack here. But GGJ leading us right now with Demsbecky right on the back of him. I'm just going to get the graphic up so that it says what the gap to the leader is, because that's going to be much more relevant here at this point. Jelme is only 9 seconds off of the leader at this point, so he's really made light work of this pack here, as we can see Mike making his way through up into 4th there ahead of Sean into turn 1. Is that job done for Mike? I think it is. Yeah, he's got that done up into 4th place. No dramas there for Mike. But obviously with that spin, a couple of laps to go, or rather it was about a lap ago I think it was, he's now running down in P4, and GGJ and Demsbecky left to fight it out over the lead for the time being, as Rednass has got ahead of Mr. Basil here up into 9th place coming out of turn 1. So Mr. Basil must have made a mistake. He's already needed 3 seconds behind him, so he must have dropped it. He must have had a spin there coming through turn 1. GGJ though leads the race right now ahead of Demspecki as these guys coming through the middle sector. They've got 4 seconds back to Andrew, who's running in 3rd place. He's got a couple of seconds back to Mike. There's Sean and HD Baguette, and Joe reeling these guys in here in 7th place. Is he matching the leaders? What sort of pace has he got in reference to GGJ and Demspecki? If he's able to match GGJ on the hard tyres, then that does not bode well for GGJ. Demspecki currently on the hard tyres on the back of GGJ here, but Crazy Max has got ahead of Rednass. And what's happened here to Rednass? Rednass has dropped it and is lost out here to Game for Life as well. Felix is up into 13th place. So I didn't see what happened there to Rednass, but he's had some kind of incident somewhere. GGJ still leads the race by just over a second here as he's coming into turn 1 here on lap 7. You can see he was just at the fastest lap of the race there that previous time around, as he really needs to be, because he's got Demspecki keeping on his toes, and Joram is cutting his way through the pack quite quickly now in 7th place. But GGJ crucially was quicker than Joram on that last lap, and Joram was in clean air, and Joram also almost losing it there coming out of turn 1. Just about holds on to it, but that was a close call there for him, and he's just about kept it pointing in the right direction there. But GGJ will take solace from that, knowing that Joram was not having the easiest of times making his way through the pack at the moment. Obviously GGJ was quicker than him, but I said before, GGJ needs to be quicker than Jelma and Demspecki, because if he's not quicker than them when he's on the faster tyres, he will be in trouble come the second stint. He now needs to make this tyre advantage, which he's got now, work to its fullest over these next sort of 8 to 10 laps. He needs to make this tyre advantage work, because he will be on the hards for the second stint, and they will be slower than what Demspecki and Jelma will have on. At the moment, Demspecki and Jelma are on the hard tyres, but that will change in this second stint. And also, how quickly is Jelma going to be able to pick up these places here with HD Baguette just in front of him as they're coming through the penultimate corner here on lap 7. Jelma's surely going to get a run out of the final corner, but the thing is, HD Baguette's got DRS here on Sean, so Jelma needs to get good traction here out of the final corner, and he does so. Decent exit there from him, but there you can see that HD Baguette with the DRS on Sean. Now HD Baguette's going to make the move on Sean, and surely this is going to be job done here for her. No, Sean's trying to close the door, but HD Baguette gets it done. Now Jelma's going to try and get both of them here coming out down towards turn 2. Oh no, and Jelma's lost it into the wall. Oh, he's got damage there. He's lost his front wing. Oh no. And Joram there just I think he got caught out. Was there hopefully it wasn't a brake check there from the Aston Martin, but Joram has dropped a load of time here, and he's now in 8th place. He's 20 seconds off of the lead, and unless we have a safety car in this race, I think that his hopes of a race win here tonight are gone, as GGJ has opened up a 2-second gap here over Demspecki. What about Mike? What's Mike doing? He's on the back of Andrew, but struggling to dispatch him at this point. I reckon it's now a 2-horse race for this race victory, with Mike 7 seconds behind him 4th. I reckon it's between GGJ and Demspecki. Demspecki's still very much in this battle for the win on the strategy. With his hard tyres on the car, you would expect GGJ to be quicker at this stage in the race, but can he hold on in the long run here in this one? Still relatively early stages of this Hungarian Grand Prix as we're coming out of the last corner here to complete lap 8 of the race. Eggman there gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That's just popped up on our screen there from race control. But Mike here is in the slipstream here of Andrew Pittsmith coming down the start-finish straight. Andrew defends to the inside. Mike's going to look to the outside here and then cuts back to the inside. Wow, great move on Mike. Fantastic manoeuvre there. That came out of nowhere. I did not see that one coming. And Mike really playing a bit of a dummy there on Andrew and gets himself up into 3rd place. Superb stuff there from Mike. Well done. I'll give you a clap for that one. That was a fantastic manoeuvre as Joram into the pits at the end of lap 8, and no surprise there with the damage that we saw him incur coming out of turn 1. But Mike, take a bow, son. That was absolutely superb. You really totally sold that one to Andrew, and Andrew was lured into that full sense of security, and I'm going to be waxing lyrical about that for laps to come in this race. I'm going to be referencing that non-stop because that was absolutely superb. I must admit, when you know, sim racing does draw parallels to real racing in a sense that you know, the very best are able to make manoeuvres like that you just don't see your average Joe being able to make moves like that. But to have that kind of control on the car coming into the braking zone when you're changing direction in the braking zone as the attacking car, yeah, fantastic move. Really, really great there from Mike. And now he's in clean air. He can try and chase down the top two, GGJ and Demspecki, but he's got a long way to go. As Rednass here is ahead of Crazy Max, and that's because Crazy Max has dropped it there. So Crazy Max is round and has lost out to Jelma. So Jelma's up into 13th place. Jelma's put the soft tyres on. So I'm not quite sure really what he's trying to do there at all. I would have thought that the hards would have been the only tyre to put on and trying. Oh no, he's already he started on the hards, didn't he? So no. If he'd started on the soft or the mediums, he would have been in a really good position. But because he started on the hards, he obviously can't stick the hards on and go to the end. As Rednass there has a spin and is lost out to Joram, so Joram up into P12. But yeah, that's frustrating there, and Joram needs a safety car in this race. If we do get a safety car, I'd say he's probably not out of a shout of a podium. But if we don't, I think that he can pretty much kiss goodbye of any chance of getting anywhere in this race. But we're currently watching our race leader GGJ, who's got a 3.5 second lead over Demspecki right now. Obviously, though, GGJ on the medium tyres, Demspecki on the hards, so we'd be expecting that GGJ will run the hards for the second part of the race, and Demspecki will probably be on the mediums, maybe even the soft if he's very ballsy and can go a long stint on these hards, then who knows. But definitely Demspecki's going to have a tyre advantage over GGJ in the second part of the race. We can guarantee that, as Matty Pitt has made the move here on Sean going into the final corner, and Sean's into the pits here to get those soft tyres off and get a slightly more durable tyre on. So into the pits he comes here at the end of lap 10. As we can see, Joram here has made the move on Felix up into 11th place, so that's job done there for him. And Felix has not pitted yet, so he's had a really nightmare of a race here tonight, I'll tell you that. He's started on the hards and has just gone absolutely nowhere here, if I'm honest with you. I'm not sure if this is... I saw him leave on the formation lap, so I wonder if he's got the AI in the car, potentially. But yeah, nonetheless, we've got GGJ still leading the race. The Demspec is actually keeping the gap at around 3.5 seconds to him now. It hasn't gone up. I've noticed that over the last sort of lap or so. The gap's not really gone up at all. So I wonder if GGJ's medium tyre is now starting to feel the pace a little bit. They'll have a good few laps in them before they go off at this point. But I wonder if they're now just starting to have a little bit of wear, which is maybe just helping Demspecki ever so slightly to bridge that gap down, as we're coming over the line here to complete lap 11 of this race. But there's Demspecki coming over the line here. As you can see, Crazy Max has retired from the session. Did he crash out or did he retire? Looks like he must have retired, because there's no additional sort of VSCs or safety cars, anything like that. So I think he must have retired the car, because if he had crashed, I'd imagine there'd probably be a little bit more fanfare, a little bit more drama and chaos than there is. So looks like we're all good for the time being then. But this is your race leader, this is your man running in second place right now, but it's still very much a battle on for this race win, because as I said before, Demspecki in the prime position here in the strategy. Generally you can accept that around most circuits there's about between 0.3 and half a second between the medium and the hard. The big difference is between the soft and the medium, which is usually about between 7 to 9 tenths of a second. But from the medium to the hard, generally there's not much of a difference. So you'd expect that GGJ would probably be about 5 or 6 seconds ahead of Demspecki, and Demspecki's kept the gap to 3.5 seconds, which only goes to show that he's got real good pace. As what's happened here, somebody's lost it here coming to the penultimate corner. That's Truckee who's binned it there as he's being lapped by the top two. So Truckee there having a big moment there, unfortunate there for him, as he's coming into the pits here. So we see Mike coming into the pits here in lap 13. He's obviously started on the medium tyres, so he's presumably going to be putting the hard tyres on and going to the end from here. He'll get some kind of undercut on the top two, but he was 9 or 10 seconds behind when he came in, so I can't see him being able to get ahead of GGJ and Demspecki at this rate, as we see Matty Pitt coming through to up into P5. Mike's going to come out in some clean air actually, as he's well ahead of V10 Ultra, so he'll come out in P6, well ahead of his teammate there, who's just coming into turn 1. But I imagine GGJ will probably be in the pits quite soon to put his hard tyres on, unless he's trying to go really long and trying to put the soft tyres on at the end, but I don't think that's going to be an option here around this track. But the gap between GGJ and Demspecki isn't really going up much at all at the moment. In fact, it's coming down if anything at this stage. So Demspecki is continuing to keep GGJ very much on his toes here. Got a battle here going on between Sean and Jelma. Obviously Jelma had his spin earlier on. He was making his way through the pack really quickly and then lost it when he was on the back of HD Baguette and Sean, and he's currently now arriving on the back of Sean again. Sean obviously has been into the pits. Matty Pitt is just coming into the pits now. So obviously we saw HD Baguette was with Sean and Jelma at the time that Jelma had his spin. Jelma's now still behind Sean actually, so he can't find a way through just at the moment. Toby Zero saying hi, good race so far, missed the start big time. Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's been good. Currently interesting battle at the front because GGJ on the mediums, Demspecki on the hards. So Demspecki, I would say, is probably in a position where he's in a better position to win this race than GGJ is, as things stand. But then again, GGJ could be trying to save his tyres for a stint on a soft, so I don't quite know what the plan is there. But yeah, he definitely could be pushing, I think, a bit more than he is, because Demspecki's closing that gap. It's well under 3 seconds now as GGJ is into the pits here at the end of lap 16. So he is going to go for a stint on the hards. And Demspecki's staying out for the time being. But surely Demspecki will be putting the mediums on for the second stint. I reckon that the soft would be a bit of a ballsy one. But GGJ nonetheless now on fresh hard tyres. We'll have to pace over Demspecki until Demspecki pits. And he needs to make this advantage last while he can, because Demspecki will have probably the mediums on, but potentially if he's able to go long here, we'll be able to put the softs on at the end. So GGJ needs to make these fresh tyres work whilst he can here, as he's now got HD Baguette looking around his outside coming down towards turn 2, and that'll be the last thing that he needs, as they're going to be side by side coming into turn 2, but he's going to hold it around the outside here. HD Baguette's still there though, manages to squeeze through ahead of him up into third place. And that's going to be a real kick in the teeth here for GGJ. He's obviously on cold tyres, but it's going to cost him in his battle here with Demspecki for the race win. But V10 Ultra nonetheless into the pits here at the end of lap 16. Mr. Basil's come through into 9th, but Currently it's Demsbecky leading the race. So Demsbecky, Andrew and HTB all still yet to pit here in this race. GGJ's been in, so is Mike, so is Jelma. Jelma's actually only about 22 seconds off of the race lead, so I don't know where he's going to be able to get to though, because the thing is he's running on the soft, so he's got to come in again. He put those soft tyres on lap 9, I think it was. So maybe he's planning on doing 2 stints on the soft. I don't know, that might be a bit of a push. Maybe he's going to have to put the mediums on for the final stint. GGJ here on the back of HT Baguette as they're coming into turn 1. See GGJ with a bit of DRS into the turn 1, but too far back at the moment to make anything happen here. So GGJ is just going to be getting frustrated here behind that Aston Martin, because the longer that he spends behind the Aston Martin, the more it's going to hurt him in his battle with Demsbecky. Here he comes, he needs to really get it done here and now. Is he going to get a run here coming up towards turn 4? He's going to look to cut back there, but can't get anything done. The gap's just not forming at the moment. HT Baguette parking a car in the right places here. Here we go, HT Baguette's now got a bit of a run here on HT Baguette, looking to the inside. Can he make the move? HT Baguette just holding it around the outside still. Good little battle here between these two. For the time being, GGJ just cannot find the space. Hasn't got much to work with right now. As Redknapp with a 3-second time penalty there for multiple warnings. Andrew Pipsmith in the pits here at the end of lap 18. But HT Baguette and GGJ coming down the start finish straight once again. Now GGJ's got a chance. Looking to the inside. He's got a bit of his car alongside and sure he's going to get it done. Now HT Baguette's still holding on. Wow. Great racing. And HT Baguette is being really the thorn in the side for GGJ in his pursuit of a race win. And they're still side by side. GGJ's now got the move done around the outside of turn 2. Will now have the traction with the warmer tyres than he had when he was out of the pits. And he finally gets the move done here up towards turn 4. HT Baguette trying to tuck back into the slipstream here. But GGJ has made the move up into P2. It is now P2 because Andrew's been into the pits to make his stop, but GGJ would have lost a lot of unnecessary time there on Demsbecky as a result of trying to clear HT Baguette, and he's currently 17 seconds off of the lead. But obviously Demsbecky will have the fresh tyres in the final stint, and will probably have the mediums on, or maybe even the soft, if he's able to stretch this first hard stint out a bit. And here comes Demsbecky, so actually it looks like he's going to be putting the mediums on for this second stint. And what's happened to GGJ? Where is he? What's gone on here? GGJ is out of the race. And we have got a safety car. So safety car here on lap 19. GGJ had just made the move on HT Baguette, but he's crashed out of the race. Oh, and that's robbed us of a battle there with Demsbecky and GGJ, but it could bring Mike back into play here. Mike, we know, has got the pace. Are HT Baguette and Mike going to be putting the soft tyres on here? Demsbecky, no, they're not going to be able to put the softs on from here, no way. But they'll be able to put the mediums on, and it's a free pit stop here for these. So Mike putting the softs on, wow. Well, Mike, I think that's a little bit naive there. I don't think you're going to be able to make them last until the end of the race, unless he's banking on another safety car here. But that is that's a little bit confusing there for me, because I reckon we're going to have probably about 13 racing laps by the end of this race. So that could be a huge risk there for Mike, I'll tell you that. That's a very big risk there for him. But nonetheless, he'll have the pace in the first part of this final stint, but I don't think he's going to be able to make those tyres last to the end. But Mr. Basil coming out also has put the soft tyres on, so there's more than one driver putting the softs on here, which is a surprise, but hey, that's it. Anyway guys, we'll be back in about 2 or 3 minutes for the restart, I guess. Hi everybody, sorry about that. I just had to quickly jump downstairs to deal with something, but we are back here. We've got 9 laps currently left in this Hungarian Grand Prix here at Motive. And it's currently HD Viget who is leading the race, actually, with the safety car obviously shaping things up a little bit. We've lost GGJ, he was the guy who triggered the safety car. Since then, since I've been away, Matty Pitt and V10 Ultra have both crashed out of the race, so I don't know what's happened actually with those two, but they're now no longer out on the track. And HD Viget leading ahead of Joram. You've got Mike there running in 3rd place right now. Bit of a gap back to Demsbecky, who sat in 4th place. You've got Andrew Pittsmith a little way back from him in 5th. But essentially, Demsbecky's fallen off a little bit. Mike on the soft tyres, but I've said earlier on, he'll be struggling like crazy at the end of this race. But one thing I'm interested in is how Demsbecky's fallen back so much. But Joram here, within 4 tenths of HD Viget, and HD Viget is going to need to make her car probably wider than a tractor, wider than a combine harvester, if she is to keep Joram behind her, because Joram, we know, has got some serious pace, but right now she seems to be soaking up this pressure and keeping onto this lead. But for how much longer is she going to be able to do that? That's got to be the question here at this point. Mike there running in 3rd place, just under 2 seconds behind these two, but I don't think he's going to have enough tread in the soft tyres to keep them going until the end of this race. You can see how much he's having to go easy on them. As here we go. This is for the lead of the race. Joram here down the inside into turn 1, and that is the lead here. And obviously he's got very fortuitous tonight with the safety car coming to his aid after he had that crash earlier on. But Joram here now leads the race. Has been the quickest man out there tonight, no doubt. But he would not have been in this race if it wasn't for the safety car. So he's got quite lucky tonight, but he leads the race here, and it's going to be 3 wins from 3 reserve appearances this season for him if he's able to continue what he's doing right now. Mike running in 3rd, obviously on his soft tyres, which he's going to need to go very easy on if he's to get them to the flag. So I don't think he's going to really figure in this battle at the front. Demsbecky running in 4th place. Can he close in on Mike? Can he get a P2 maybe, as he's only 3 and a bit seconds off at the back of HD Viget? That could be one to watch here in the closing laps of this race. But Jelma doing what Jelma does, really, leading the race. He's currently got control of things here out the front in his Alfa Romeo, and I can't see him looking back here. He's already got over a second of a gap to HD Viget, having made that move on that lap just gone. But Demsbecky's currently on the back of Mike here as they're coming out of the final corner. You can see them coming down the start finish straight here to start their 29th laps of the race. You can see Demsbecky's got a bit of a run here. He's got the DRS here into turn 1. Throws a little fade to the inside. He's going to go for it here. And Mike closes the door. Goes a little bit wide though. And Demsbecky, and Demsbecky lost it there coming out of turn 1. Gets it very trigger happy there. And he's spun it around and got it back going again. But where's Andrew Smith in all this? Andrew's going to come through and move himself up into P4. So Demsbecky there has dropped up another place. And he's going to be gutted with that one. Absolutely gutted there as he was on the back of Mike, battling over the podium places. But he's lost 8 seconds there in that little debacle. As we can see, Mr. Basil's got ahead of the Greaves. That's because the Greaves is in the pits at the end of lap 28. Or 27 for him, actually, I think it is. But Joram currently out the front. He's got just under 2 seconds right now over HD Viget. So he's been putting out the gap since he got ahead of her a couple of laps ago, and is just now starting to up the tempo. And it'd be his 3rd win, as I said before, in 3 substitute or reserve appearances so far this season. And every time he jumps in the league, he seems to be the one to beat. But tonight, he's got very lucky with the safety car. I'll tell you that now. He should not have been in a position to capitalise on a race win. Not in a million years. It's down to the safety car, which was triggered by GGJ's accident, as he was just moving into 2nd place and looking to try and chase down the race leader at the time, who was Demsbecky. Obviously, Demsbecky was yet to pit at that point, and I don't know what's happened to Demsbecky since then. Obviously, since the safety car period, something has happened to him, and when that's meant that he's dropped back a load of places. But essentially, we missed about 4 laps of racing action because I had to go downstairs and quickly deal with something, and so as a result, we missed a few of the laps of the race, which is quite frustrating, really. It's not what we want, but it is what it is, I guess. As Mr. Basil into the pits here and puts a fresh set of soft tyres on maybe go for the fastest lap for the final couple of laps of this race potentially. In the meantime, it's Joe. I'm still leading by just under 3 seconds here ahead of HD Baguette, who's continuing to drop off of him bit by bit here. See Mike coming over there to start lap 31, so we've got 5 laps left to go here at Motive for the F1 League. This is obviously round 12 of a 21 round season here for season 5. So here we go then, starting lap 32. Joe continuing to put out his gap to HD again. Not really much going on now at this point in the race. Andrew's actually keeping Demspecki on his toes here in this fight for 4th. Although saying that, Demspecki's just opened up a gap of over a second here. So he's now starting to get the hammer down and extend that gap a little bit. Mike on his now extremely worn out soft tyres, I think is going to struggle here. So could we be seeing Demspecki close down that 4-second gap and potentially putting him under some pressure here in the final few laps of this race? Obviously we've got to factor in that Mike only has done about 12, only about 10 of those 12 racing laps have been done at racing speeds, but even so they are going to be hanging on by a thread in about a lap or so's time, and it's going to be a real struggle for him to get those to the flag. But the gap between Jerome and HWG continuing to open up. Nearly 5 seconds now between those two. It's Renas here coming into the pits at the end of lap 30. What's lap 32 for him, I think? Yep. Lap 31 for him. He's a lap down on this man here who leads the race still. See the gap between Mike and Demspecki continues to come down. It's now 1.6 between those two. So Demspecki on that last lap gained about 2 seconds on Mike. Is Mike still saving those tyres, sort of preparing them for a 2-lap dash, maybe, because he would have had to have been going so easily on them over the course of this stint, knowing that he's trying to make them go 16 laps, which is unheard of around a track like this, which is, you know, the Hungaroring's quite hard on the tyres. The only advantage is that it's quite a short circuit, but the circuit that does the parts of the circuit that are there are very hard on the tyres, and obviously with it being a short circuit, you have to do a lot of laps, which makes it quite difficult. But Demspecki in the meantime is right on the back of Mike here, coming into the penultimate corner as we are coming round the final part of the lap. They're just about to start the penultimate lap. You've got Joam who's on the penultimate lap right now, coming through turn 1. But Demspecki looking to try and get a cut back here out of the last corner. As here we go, he's going to have DRS here down the straight, and surely this is going to be easy pickings here for Demspecki as Mike weaving around. You don't want to be doing that, Mike, not on those soft tyres. They're going to be hanging on as it is, but he defends the inside line. Demspecki nowhere to go, goes for a cut back there out of turn 1, and he's going to execute the DRS here down towards turn 2. Easily done there for Demspecki, up into 3rd place onto the podium, and despite that spin a few laps ago, he will pick up some very good points here. Although racing as a reserve, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. In fact, the highest placed driver that's not a reserve is actually HD Baguette. Mike is next, then Andrew, then Sean, then Grieve, Mr. Basil and Rednass. Well, actually Rednass isn't a permanent driver either, he's also a reserve. So but yeah, the leader and 3rd place drivers both reserves tonight, so they're obviously doing a great job here, stepping up to the plate. As we've got Jerome here coming to the final corner, about to start the final lap. His gap to HD Baguette just over 6 seconds. But race not really proving to be a thriller at this stage. Obviously we lost a few drivers and we completely missed the safety car restart, the final safety car restart, because as I said, I had to go downstairs and deal with something, and basically it just, yeah. I intended to only be about 2 or 3 minutes and ended up being downstairs for about 10 minutes, so yeah, but hey, doesn't matter, it's boring anyway. But Andrew's moved himself through round the outside into turn 1. Mike there trying to keep it there on the inside, goes a little bit wide there, does Andrew onto the curb, side by side here with Mike coming down towards turn 2. Mike actually squeezes back through into 4th place, so Mike now back ahead of Andrew as they're coming through turn 2. Good little battle here going on as we're coming up the hill now towards 4. On board with Andrew, you can see him getting close to Mike, but Mike there ahead coming into turn 4. Mike there hanging on by the skin of his teeth here. So we're on the final lap of the race. You can see there the lap car. Rednass trying to get involved in the battle here. Oh, as Mike there's gone straight on. But Andrew's still behind him at the moment, so Andrew somehow can't get ahead of him here. But in the meantime, Gerard coming up towards the line. He's going to take the race win here at Hungary. What a performance from him. Got a bit lucky with the safety cars. He wouldn't have won the race if it wasn't for that, but nonetheless, he had the pace over absolutely everybody tonight. Well done to him on taking his 3rd win in 3 reserve appearances. He's got a perfect record so far this season here at Motive. HD Baguette comes over to take 2nd place ahead of Demspecki, who will complete the podium. A good drive from him, with Mike has been passed by Andrew. So Mike there spins out coming through the final corner. Andrew takes 4th place ahead of Mike, who's going to come out of the final corner here to take P5 by the looks of it, as he slides around there a little bit coming onto the power, but he comes over in P5. So that's him done for the race. Sean here coming into the final corner, and he's going to take 6th place here in the end in this race. He's a little way clear of the Grieve, who's running in P7, but nonetheless P6, not a bad result there for Sean. The Grieve coming into the final corner, he's a couple of seconds clear of Mr. Basil, or is he? Maybe not. The Grieve coming over to finish in P7. That's it. That's the race done. Well then. Don't really know what to say after that. Jerome taking a win, but maybe shouldn't have with the safety car, but I'm sure he'll take that nonetheless. But yeah, well done to Jerome on taking the win. HD Baguette and Demspecki podium finishes. Gutting for GGJ there to crash out, and obviously his crash triggered that last safety car there. But yeah, a frustrating night for the championship leader. But guys, we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us once again. Yeah, we'll be back for the next instalment of the F1 League. We'll be back at the same time, hopefully as usual. Unlike tonight where we started a little bit late, we should be back on 6:40 PM UK time for round 13 of the season, where we will be at Belgium for the Belgian Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps. Also, if you're around, join us on Sunday night, because we'll be back for the GT3 Championship on ACC. We'll be at Watkins Glen for Tier 2 at 7 PM, followed by Tier 1 at 8:30. Monday we'll be off. We won't be doing anything Monday as usual. We'll be back on for Tuesday night for the Clio Cup on Project Cars 2, where we'll be live for round 4 of that season. and we'll be racing at Silverstone International. Then Wednesday night we'll be back on ACC for the GT3 Sprint League, which will be at 8 PM UK time. We'll be at Barcelona for that one, followed by the Touring Car Championship. I'm back on Project Cars 2 on Thursday night, where we'll be still at Silverstone, but we'll be on the GP circuit for that one, so the full Grand Prix circuit in the touring cars. Looking forward to seeing how that's going to work out. And then back obviously for next week's F1, as I said before, Belgian Grand Prix. Make sure you tune in. But from us, it's a good night, and yeah, see you.